Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of Podiatry Marketing. With me, as usual, and every week, is Big Jim Mack. How you doing today, Jim?
Tyson, feeling good. It's 2024. It's a new year. I'm excited to see where things go with our podcast. Life, I'm going to be heading out to a bunch of conferences in 2024. So excited to kind of reconnect with some of my podiatry colleagues in the US. So,
What time of the year do you get to go to the conferences?
yeah, so I'm going to be heading to the New York Podiatry Conference in early, I guess it's in late January. Then ACFAST, which is the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons, in February. And then there's a meeting in North Carolina that I'm talking to some folks about maybe giving a talk at. So yeah, it's kind of it seems like conferences mostly happen in the kind of late, I guess, January, February time in the fall. And then there's a few in the summertime, like the big American Podiatric Medical Association is usually in June or July. So yeah, they kinda happen all year long in the US, but it kinda seems like the pockets are usually beginning of the year and near kind of the tail end of the year, and the middle of the year is usually a bit more open except for APMA.
Yeah, because I heard somebody told me once that the big conference period was like September, October was really big because they've got through the summer and everyone's trying to get everything done before it starts getting too cold and people don't want to sort of go outside so much.
Yeah, sometimes when, like, November hits, right, like that then, like, the holidays season is kind of on in a way, so
Mm.
you wanna get it in that September, October window for the fall. Like I said, kinda after the holidays, January, February seems to be, kind of a busy time as well, so, yeah, I'm excited to get out there and see what's happening. It's been a little while. I was supposed to give some talks, in person, but then COVID hit, so it'll be good to see some folks, that I went to school with and went to residency with, here pretty soon.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward. 2024, I've got big plans for 2024. And
Awesome.
and I'll be back over in the States in October. I think I actually might be there for Halloween this year.
How about that? What are you
So
gonna
that
dress up
should be
as?
fun. I don't know. I don't know. A podiatrist. My girl's a podiatrist.
There you go, there you go.
So what's the topic for today?
Yeah, so today we're going to jump into basically maximizing the visibility of your clinic. So, uh, the role of images in Google's local search for podiatry, and
Oh, good
why we bring.
topic.
Yeah, this really important topic because for a really long time with any kind of search engine optimization or trying to be found on Google or other places, it was really text heavy. It was all about kind of what are you writing on your website? Are you writing blogs? Is there enough, high value content? Are people clicking on links? But what's changing over time now is that images are becoming much more popular, much more important for kind of Google search algorithm. And we'll get into some of the specifics of what that is on today's podcast. But today's my goal is to really kind of explain to our podiatrists in the audience about what this is, and then what are some practical ways to kind of be aware that this is happening and kind of future proof their website, some of their other Google properties to make sure that they're being visible in their local areas.
Yeah, I've been saying this to people for a while now that Google's always changing things. And if you're not keeping up to date or talking to someone about it, you can fall behind. So it's important to sort of try and stay up to date with the changes that Google are making. And I know towards the end of 2023, Google did a couple of changes that affected a lot of people's websites. And anyone who just left their website as it is sort of were missing out. So they needed to talk to their website developer. And unless your website developer was professional, like yourself, then they weren't reaching out to their clients either and telling them that these changes had actually happened. So as I said, if your 14-year-old's done your website, he may not be aware that Google made a few changes.
That's a good point, and it is one of those things we talked about in a previous podcast that kind of Google can be a bit of a moving target. If you're just kind
Mm,
of setting it and forgetting it, you're gonna run into some issues because Google's always kind of adapting to the changes that are going on. For example, if you remember the first kind of iteration of Google search was all these blue links and all text, right? So you type in
yeah.
podiatrist near me or podiatrist or foot and ankle pain, and it'll just be a bunch of links. Sometimes there are ads in there, sometimes it's organic search results, but there are really no maps or no images in the search results. But Google has significantly increased the number and uses of images in their search results over the past few years. So now, if you do a search for a clinic, you're going to see a little image next to the text. You might have a
Mm.
map, or you might have a Google My Business profile with images. So, more space is now being devoted to images. They're becoming larger in size. Really there's kind of some advanced image recognition that's taking on, taking shape behind the scenes, which makes images more relevant to a searcher. And, like we talked about in the past with some of our discussions on SEO, Google has these kind of bots that kind of crawl internet. And for a long time, it was very text based, right? They want to see keywords, they want to see these words next to each other, these cluster of words. But now with AI and machine learning, Google can kind of crawl websites and some of the platforms where people can upload their images into, and they can say that, there's a podiatrist treating a foot of a 30-year-old woman, or there's
Yeah.
a, podiatrist treating a, it can tell that that's what's happening in the photo, right? So those websites that have, footprints on the beach, or, feet, bare feet on the end of a dock, are in big trouble now because they're not being seen as professional or as authoritative as these more, websites that show images that are authentic and real. So that's the kind of first thing. These kind of the increasing importance of images in search results.
Yeah, my favorite photo is the foot that has the flower between the toes
That is a good
with
one.
with
That's good.
with nature in the background. You sort of go,
It's
"Oh,
kind of a
yes,
hippie
okay."
foot. It's kind of a hippie foot.
Yeah. Or children running across grass chasing butterflies,
There you go.
or a family doing the same thing. You said, "Oh, no," in regards to photos that are on people's websites, and you're saying that the little Google bots are going around looking at things. If people are using stock photos instead of their own images, is Google punishing websites for using stock photos instead of actually taking their own photograph?
I don't know if they're punishing them yet, but I know that sometimes multiple websites will have the same image. It's kind of this
Yeah.
duplicate content situation. So it's too early to tell whether or not Google is punishing them, but it definitely, for other reasons besides just these kind of Google bots, it's important to have these, we talk about it a lot, these genuine, authentic images of you treating your ideal patient. So,
Mm.
I can't tell for sure not if they're being punished, but I say now is a good time to consider, getting a photographer and taking better images of you treating your ideal patient.
Yeah, and we have mentioned that before, that there's nothing better than seeing the real practitioner with a patient in their consultation room. So when a patient does arrive at your clinic, everything seems authentic, not images of people who just, do not belong, just do not belong to it.
No, exactly. And I think that's really, really important because we talked about Google's kind of enhanced understanding these images is something that, it's kind of a hidden thing. It's kind of a, you don't see it happening. Google's kind of a black box. They're not going to tell you necessarily that, this image is being punished or that kind of thing. But, like we talked about in a previous episode with the style guide, the colors, the images you have on your website, if there's consistency, that's something that Google can kind of measure behind the scenes and rank and score your website. So, you just want to make sure that you're aware that it can be it plays a really critical role potentially in how your images are displayed across different Google properties. It's not only your website, but sometimes it'll extract images and put them into the search results. It'll take images and put it onto your Google business profile. There's a lot of different places it'll put it on maps. So it's really important that the images you have are authentic and that, like I said, Google sees them as being original and not duplicate.
Okay. So with the photos that you're talking about, are you saying just having these on your website or also in your Google business page?
No, that's a perfect example. And you want to have these kind of optimized images in other places as well, because these kind of important, high quality, relevant images of local business can happen other places, right? Maybe it's on Google reviews or Google business profile. You'll have to upload them, right? So it's a matter of taking those steps. Sometimes also Google business profile has these posts. So having good images on those posts is a way of telling Google that, you're staying current and giving your, patients, consistent information. So, podiatry clinics are encouraged to regularly update these images to ensure that they are, covering the types of services and the type of care you provide. You just want to make sure they're relevant and updated. And like I said, this is a signal to Google that you're doing things. You're not just kind of setting it and forgetting it. And that's not what
Yeah.
Google wants. They want someone that's interacting with their properties. So, these are really, really important things.
Yeah, and I've heard that before. That Google wants to see websites and business profiles that they're actually still alive and kicking. They weren't set up 5, 7 years ago, dumped there, and then everybody's just moved. So they don't know whether the business is still relevant to the needs of the people that are doing the search.
Yeah, when a Google business profile has 0 reviews, 0 stars, 0 images, and the only thing that's there is that Google Street View, like 360 view of, the parking lot in front of the podiatry clinic, that's not
Yeah.
a very good strong signal to Google, and it's not a very strong signal to, to your potential patients that are going to come looking for you. Because we talked about in the past, these Google business profiles are really like almost like a second website for you. There's going to be some people that look at that Google business profile and already decided whether or not you are trustworthy and relevant to kind of be the one that wants to provide them, that to choose you to provide the care. So it's really important that these Google business profiles are kept updated, bent with hours, your address, your name, all the services you provide on there are really, really important. And the photos help build that trust.
Okay, so how do you optimize an image?
Yeah,
What
so
yeah,
optimizing image basically means that what kind of format is it like? Like is it like you talked about, is it pixelated? Is it a PNG or JPEG that really is high quality? Is it
okay.
an empty clinic? The right kind of file format, but also, what is the composition of the image? Are you showing is it a stock image of somebody touching a foot, right? Or is it your face? Like I talked about, there's these bots that will crawl images now and can really tell whether you're on a Google property or not. It's on your website, if something is authentic or not, or is it duplicate? So you really want to strive for original, relevant photos.
And you said that it's looking for people in the photo. So if you have a photo of your reception area and it's bare, compared to you having someone behind the reception and maybe a patient there or the podiatrist is standing there near the gate, having people actually in the photos itself are better than just a blank photo.
No, I definitely agree with that. And I think it's really, really important that if you're going to have a photo shoot, number one, you have, a list of all the specific angles and certain things you need to have done. So it can be done in a really orderly fashion. They don't have to be there all day with you. They can be in and out or 2 or 3 hours potentially. But
Yeah.
then you want to have, whether it be family members, friends, men, women, children, whoever you want to treat or whoever's kind of in your local area that would be willing to kind of sit in front of the camera while you're kind of giving them either some fake procedures or fake examinations, or you're doing an orthotic. You want to have you doing those things in these images. And, like I said, Google can tell like there's an orthotic, in that image with the foot and a doctor wearing a white coat or something, or, there's a person is wearing a cool gown with a mask and something on their head. So if you want to do surgery, kind of playing the part is not just, for the building the trust with the patients or prospective patients, it can be a way of showing Google that you are that person without having to type in, a bunch of text to say that you are a foot and ankle surgeon, for example.
Yeah, and I like what you mentioned too about Google will recognize the people there, like even the podiatrists in the photo themselves. And I know just like I can take a photo on my phone and also have Google Photos, so a copy goes over to Google Photos. I can quite easily look up Jim, and Google
Yeah.
will show me all the photos that if you and I are in photos together, it will show me all the photos that you're in the. So you were saying that Google itself can recognize people in the photos. So the podiatrist that owns the clinic or the podiatrist that work there should actually be in those photos because then Google will actually match them up. No different to if I take a photo on my phone and it passes it over to Google Photos, that all of a sudden it will recognize if you're, yeah, if I've had a number of photos with you or some other friends, I can just type in their name and straight away it knows who that person is. I haven't even told them who it is, but it knows. It recognizes people.
It can be a little bit scary, right? Like this kind of
Yeah.
machine learning that it can, kind of put facial recognition, right? And whether it's in your Google Photos or your Apple Photos, and you can, you typed in, maybe didn't even type anything, and you said it was like my brother Doug in one photo, and then it has all of the photos of Doug forever,
Mm.
and it can do other things, right? It's not just photos, it's not just the faces of people in photos, but like you said, is it an orthotic that's in the photo? Is it someone wearing a surgical scrub mask, or wearing scrubs, wearing different things. So it's kind of amazing what Google can do now, and it's this kind of hidden layer of scanning photos and drawing information from them. And they're going to want to put those ones that are more relevant, that are showing those things higher in the rankings, because Google's all about providing relevant search results. That's their number
Yeah.
one goal, is to like take what you say is a search term and show you what exactly you want to see. And it used to be it was only with text they could do that, but now they can do with images, and they could probably do it with video as well. So the more, spent text, video, and photos you have, the higher you're going to be ranking in the future with Google.
Yeah, it's funny. I did a talk a while back, and I was doing like a webinar, and I showed a video. It's just a short snippet of a video within my whole webinar. So it was a video within a video, because we're recording it. I put it on Facebook to do something, Next thing, I got a message from Facebook saying I'd breached Disney's copyright laws. And it was in a private group that I'm thinking, wow, that was just amazing that it was a smallest little snippet of a video, and it was the audio in that video that they picked up on so I had to actually take it down, edit that out, and then redo it. So it's amazing what is happening in the background that we are totally unaware of. And people always ask, oh, but why is this business ranking better than me? I have more Google reviews. But they might have an article on Shockwave, and there's a number of photos of. So you're saying that Google would recognize what a Shockwave machine looks like because they've seen enough photos now of what a Shockwave machine looks like.
No, exactly. And it's kind of like, I don't know if I say it would be creepy or it's a little concerning sometimes. You have
I think it's fun.
Facebook, these Facebook, I mean, some of it is fun. I'm not going to lie, but
Yeah.
when Facebook wants to see the 20,000 photos I've taken during my lifetime, they can put together like a story of who I am,
Mm.
like, what I like to do, where I hang out at. And to be able to serve me, they can serve me advertising. They can serve me all kinds of things because they know me probably better than most people do because they have an intimate view into these things. So I think it's important that, with your own data too, right? Make sure that you're aware when you're sharing all your photos with these services, whether it be Google, Facebook, that there's going to be certain insights that can be a little creepy at times when it comes to that stuff. But I think,
Well, that
when
makes sense because when we did the live reboot in Brisbane last year, while we were there, somebody had an injection-free needle for local anesthetic. They needed a volunteer. So, of course, I didn't want to volunteer, but everyone said, Tyson, you have to do it since you're hosting this event. We did it. Some people took some photographs of that happening. That must have been posted somewhere that night. Someone's posted those photos. The next day, I was getting advertising on my phone through Facebook of that particular equipment for sale.
oh, wow.
Or that device that night. And I said to my wife, look at this. Never seen this ad before in my life. And all of a sudden it popped up on my feed. So
Yeah.
very quickly, it's recognized that service or that piece of equipment, me, and now it's gone, oh, you want to see more of this.
No, it's a hugely, it's all about relevance, right? And the impact of images, can help build, trust in your business's reputation. So they're going to keep, like I said, this is just the beginning. This is going to be something we see more and more as time goes on because these high quality, relevant images, are going to be seen as more reputable or more relevant and really attract potential patients. So it is one of those things where you have to, like I said, we're just kind of hitting the tip of the iceberg when it comes to that.
Yeah, and I think people, because when that actually happened, I told everyone the next day, because this was a 2-day event. This happened on the first day, and then I was telling them on the second day, look what turned up on my feed. And everyone's going, oh, I knew our phones listened to us. But it probably wasn't them listening to us. It was an image was posted by somebody in the group because everyone was taking photos because I was having a big sook before getting it done. In the end, it didn't hurt. I was very brave. And I know the person who did it on me, Elon, listens to this podcast all the time. So he will probably be chuckling about this. But that's how it turned up on my feed the next day, probably from the photograph.
Most likely, yes.
Amazing.
Yep.
So
Well,
what's next? What's
yeah,
happening future wise with trends in this
yeah.
area?
Yeah, so the next kind of trend or the thing that's kind of moving in the future besides just kind of the increasing amount of, facial recognition and image recognition is that, we all have smartphones in our pocket, right? And,
Yep.
I live in a country where I don't speak, or at least a province where I don't speak the main language. And I use something called Google Lens. So with Google Lens, I can, pull out my phone, use Google Translate with Google Lens. And if I have a French menu, can, hold my phone there and it'll turn everything into English for me. But what's
That's
going to
cool.
happen over time is that we're going to continue to have increases amount of visual search, right? So like, I want this computer, I want this pair of shoes, get an image of it, and then you can basically do all your shopping or you can do everything with it. And a lot of kind of some things will happen now with kind of reverse image search. You have an image of something, you want to find that thing, you saw an image of it and you can kind of put that image into Google. You can actually do this right now. So we're going to see more and more this evolution of Google Lens, different types of visual search. Like I said, not only is it going to be static images or translation of text, but videos are going to be kind of the next frontier of you'll be searching for something and you'll find that YouTube's that kind of big search engine now where we find video, but it's going to be even more refined as time goes on.
I think we've never spoken on this subject before, We've never even touched on this particular subject. So I'm finding this really, really interesting. And I think it's something that everybody should be doing a little bit more reading about about this, or reaching out to you and I and talking about it if they want more information.
No, definitely. It definitely is, for podiatrists, these kind of insights about visual search kind of underscore the importance of, you've got to kind of actively manage your online profile, right? You got to be kind of constantly evolving it because, this kind of content associated with your practice, especially on platforms like Google, these high quality images that accurately, represent their services, your facilities, your staff can really have a huge impact, not only now, but in the future on the online visibility, your reputation, and how you're able to acquire patients in the future. So you really want to stay on top of these things. We're going to keep on putting out, these podcasts that help you understand why it's important, but then it's important to take that next step and, take action on some of these things we're talking about. So whether it be, getting together a plan and having kind of someone along your side from a coaching perspective like Tyson, or implementing some of these things on my side with podiatry growth, we're here for you. So don't hesitate to reach out and, set up a call with us. We're not going to, there's no such thing as a hard sell between me and Tyson. We're going to just give
Nah.
you some information about what we do and how we can help. If we're not the right people for you, fantastic. But, kind of taking that step in 2024, it's a new year. It's time to kind of take action on some of these things we've been talking about over the last 105, 106 episodes. So, really excited to see where we can take this podcast, but also help our listeners kind of reach that next level.
Yeah, one thing I just want to touch on before we finish up was you said when anybody gets or brings a new service into their business, or they get a new piece of equipment. So if they've never had Shockwave and they buy a Shockwave machine, is making sure that they get some professional photos taken with the team members using that equipment and then getting that on the website as soon as they can. And every aspect or every service that they offer, they need to get photographs of that so that when Google's got the Google bots out there doing all the searching, they will actually recognize and find those images and then possibly send more patients your way.
No, exactly. The more you can have high quality text, high quality images, and high quality video of all the care that you provide, I think our generation is pretty used to reading a lot and looking at images, but the next generation is going to be different, right? And the younger generation right now, they're on their phones, they're watching
Oh,
Instagram Reels and TikTok and different things. And it sounds silly to us because I'm kind of, I'm 46 years old. I'm kind of entering into the older generation in a
the
way,
abyss.
podiatrists. We have to kind of stay on top of these things. So you're right. Like it is something where you gotta have that high quality text, high quality images, high quality video of all the care you provide. And then you'll be that kind of go-to expert for whoever's looking for that type of care.
No, I think this has been an absolutely fantastic topic. I've really enjoyed this. And what you said then too about generations changing, I think you got to put a little bit of time aside and a little bit of effort to stay in touch with what's happening. You can't just think, oh well, yeah, I'm now too old to learn this. No, I just think you just got to stay on top. It's no different to your podiatry skills. If you've been doing podiatry 20 years, it doesn't mean you're too old now to keep learning. You're always going to dive in. So it's just, I think it's wanting to actually learn, and that's why I think this podcast is great. Is because we're bringing new information to the podiatrists that hopefully they will be applying to the business.
Yeah, it's exciting. That's why I love doing the podcast every week with Tyson. Is just kind of getting out that information, so podiatrists and practice management folks can really, the practice managers can really implement some of these things in their practice to really future-proof their practice, but also help it grow well into the future.
Okay, so have you got anything else to wrap up on, or you're done, Jim?
No, I think that's good. I think just, like I said, if people have questions or any comments about today's episode, definitely reach out to Tyson and myself.
Yeah, and what I usually say to some people, if you felt you listened to this episode and you didn't get anything, you need to go and give yourself an uppercut, take 2 Panadol, have a lie down, get back up and listen to it again, because there was, I think, a lot of information in this particular episode that will change the way that you're going to start using your websites, using Google Business in so many ways. So thank you, Jim.
My pleasure, Tyson.
Okay, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, bye now.
Okay, see ya. Bye.